What's something you would never cheap out on? Baby seats for cars. Before I was born, my parents and older brother got into a car accident because a horse had gotten loose and jumped onto the road right in front of my parents' car. There was such a slim chance of it ever happening, but it did. Unfortunately, my parents were not as rich or well-researched at the time, and the car seat that my brother was in had shattered from the sudden impact and ended up piercing into him. Not only that, the stitches on the seatbelt of the car seat had ripped off the fabric and launched him onto the floor of the car. Fortunately, another car that had seen the accident pulled my entire family out. The stranger drove them all the way to the hospital, but since they were far from the city, it had taken about an hour to reach the hospital. By then, my brother's condition had become even more critical. He survived, thankfully, but the injuries caused him to grow up with difficulties. So years later, when I got married and pregnant with my own kid, the first thing I researched and bought was a trustworthy car seat. There were so many online claiming to be safe, but only a few had actually proven it through test trials and reviews. I chose one that was highly rated, but it was definitely incredibly costly. Before the baby even arrived, my husband and I tested the car seat in a large parking lot area. He sped up just slightly above 100 miles per hour before slamming on the brakes. The car skidded a bit and left a mark on the parking lot, but the car seat was securely fastened and stable. I was definitely satisfied with the outcome, but I still hoped that the car seat would never have to be tested. Unfortunately, history repeated itself about 6 months after I had given birth. While we were on the way to my parents' house, a teenager in a car T-boned us after running through a red light. Most of the damage and force got pushed towards the back end of our car, causing it to spin and flip over. The impact hurt, but the adrenaline rushing in my body kept the pain to a minimum. It was hard to breathe, and I was slipping in and out of consciousness. None of the cars passing by had planned on stopping to help us out, so we sat in our seats, upside down, watching the cars drive by while my baby cried and screamed. After about 5 stoplights, someone pulled over beside our car and called 911 to arrive. Unfortunately, it took several more minutes for the paramedics to arrive. By then, blood had been rushing and pooling towards my baby's head from being upside down, but she was luckily completely unharmed. Even the paramedics were surprised that the car seat had no structural or visual damages, despite the rest of the car looking totaled. They even later explained how it was pretty miraculous that my child survived without so much as a scratch on her, since the car hit her side more directly than any other part of the car. I was relieved to hear that my choice ended up being useful after all. My husband and I also suffered bruising and other minor injuries, but we were ultimately safe with all limbs fully attached and functioning. The teen who had been driving the other car ended up immediately dying even before paramedics arrived. The young girl had been driving around quickly without her seatbelt. Her parents had to get called to the hospital to identify the body and receive the full explanation of what happened. Overall, it was a seriously unpleasant experience having to cling to life, but I was sincerely happy with the purchase, recommending it to all of my friends and family.